Hi, guys. So today is Module 6, Lesson 3, and this is our learning target for today. I can make inferences while I am reading. So you should be thinking to yourself, what is an inference? We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Right now, I'd like you to either open your My Book or open a tab and be on page 18. 18, where we're looking at this page where it says prepare to read. Okay. So today we're going to read a text, or start reading a text called Christo and John Claude Through the Gates and Beyond. This is an informational text. It's giving us facts and examples about a topic. Your job right now is to pause this video and answer this question where it says set a purpose. Think about the title and genre of this text. What do you know about visual arts? What do you want to learn? Write your ideas below. So you should be pausing this text and then typing your ideas in here or writing them in your book. Great. So now we're going to start reading. So Christo and Jean Claude Through the Gates and Beyond. Now, while you read today, I'm asking that you make inferences while you are reading. Now, if you remember back, an inference is when you make guesses about what you think is going to happen or what you think the author means. So it's writing down your ideas. So while we are reading today, I'm going to stop a few times and ask that you make an inference. You write down an idea that you have based on the text, a thought that you have. So the gates. Central Park, New York City, 1979 to 2005. We have never done sad work, Christo. Most human beings are afraid of what is new. It is our work to convince them that they will enjoy it, and even if they don't, to allow us just for 16 days to create a work of art. John Claude. In the winter of 2005, Christo and John Claude became two of the most visible artists in the world, gracing the covers of magazines from New York to Japan. What had riveted the world's attention? The Gates, Central Park, New York City, 1979 to 2005, the largest work of art ever created for the largest of all American cities, was about to be completed with great fanfare. 7,503 shimmer saffron panels would be unfurled in New York's Central Park. Would the gates cause celebration or controversy? Back in 1979, what were the chances of Christo and John Claude constructing a giant artwork stretching 23 miles through Central Park? After all, Central Park is New York's big backyard, the place where they run, bike, walk dogs, play ball, skate, and even take rides in horse-drawn carriages. It is acres of green grass, thousands of stately trees, long curving paths, a lake, ponds, fountains, a castle, a zoo, sculptures, and a merry-go-round. The mayor was skeptical of the artist's proposal. Some environmentalists worried about its damaging the park's trees, plants, and wildlife. In 1981, the park's commissioner published a 185-page book saying no. So, as I said, while we're reading today, you're supposed to be making inferences to give you an example of what this looks like. So, first, when we were talking about it, I didn't really know what they meant by the gates. I didn't really know the background of this story. I didn't know the background of why this was created. So I learned while reading this that the gates was a really large piece of artwork that was done in New York City in Central Park. Um, so the gates, adding a note here. So I learned that the gates were or was a piece of artwork done in Central Park in New York City. This artwork was problematic because many people were against it. Oops, I spelled a couple of things wrong. I'm just going to fix those quick. So, based on what happened, I think that this article will be about overcoming obstacles. So, based on learning that this text is really about this artwork that was done in New York City, but they're already setting us up thinking that it's going to be problematic. So, I'm thinking that because this was done and because people were against it, that the rest of this article is going to be how they overcame these obstacles. So, that's my inference. So you should make an inference on this page too. If you can infer about the gates as well and what it was like or anything else, but you should be making at least one note on this page before moving on. But Christo and Jean Claude never give up easily. All of their grand scale outdoor works of art are the result of countless meetings with countless people over long periods of time. Talking to the public about their concerns is part of the artistic process, and issues from the environment to safety and the use of the site are incorporated into the work. Getting a yes took energy, persistence, and 26 years. Finally, in 2003, the artist signed a 43-page contract with the city, allowing the gates to go forward. The long wait was over. On February 12, 2005, Christo and Jean Claude would transform Central Park into one huge work of art. Who would pay for such an ambitious undertaking? The artists accept neither sponsors nor public money. All outdoor projects are financed by the sale of Christo's indoor artworks, including collages, drawings, scale models, and some early works. So again, you should be taking a note on this page. To give you an example, I'm going to try to take a note here. So when they talk about who was paying for it, we learned that Christo paid for the project from the selling of his other artworks. This tells me, so then I'm going to think to myself, what kind of person is Christo? To take on this project, to pay for it himself, what does that tell me about him as a person? So that tells me that he's a kind person who cares about the arts and making things beautiful. Great. So there's my note. So you should have taken a note on this page as well before we move on to the next page. For months, Christo holed up in his studio, often spending 15 hours a day making preparatory drawings. Downstairs, Jean Claude fielded telephone calls and organized thousands of details. As creative partners, the artists worked together in a whirlwind of activity. Usually, an artist labors in the studio and exhibits a finished artwork in a museum or gallery, but the gates would be erected in Central Park while the whole world watched. In January of 2005, 15,006 mysterious-looking black steel boxes were spaced roughly every 12 feet along the miles of paths in the park. These boxes were actually solid bases, an ingenious solution to the problem of supporting the posts without digging holes in the grass or the walkways. On February 6th, 6 days before the gates were scheduled to open, 600 workers, paid by Christo and John Claude, fanned out across the park in teams of 8. They confirmed that the black boxes were level. On the bases, they put up tall, saffron-colored poles made in a factory for that project. Tightly wrapped banners extended across the tops, ready to be unfurled. So at this point, you should take one more note on this page, on page 23, making an inference. What did you learn about Christo and John Claude? What do you think is going to happen? What does the text tell you about them as people? Those kinds of things are the things you should be thinking about and writing in the margins. Once you are finished, your job now is to take your notice and notes and either take a picture of them if you wrote them in your book and post it in the assignment, or take a screenshot and post it in the assignment, or write them or copy them onto a Google Doc. Your choice of how you submit it, but that's what your grade is based on today, is did you take notice and notes while you were reading? So that's what I'm looking for. We're making inferences while I read. All of that is really important.